Good morning. We are at CRRC Sifang America, and I am Brian Vasquez, the production manager. We're going to start today here at the gantry crane area. This is where our process begins and ends. When we receive our car shells, we're going to have on the back of a flatbed truck. They're going to come into this section here. We're going to pick them up with the crane. We're going to move them over to what we call dummy bogies. The dummy bogies are basically just wheel sets that we can move the car shells freely around the facility. Follow me and I'll show you what I mean. Once the car has been put onto the dummy bogies, we're going to pull them into the house and we're going to put them on what we call the traverser. Now our traverser is a double, so we can actually move 2 car shells at a time from one end of the building to the other. We're going to put it on the traverser and we're going to move it over here to room number 1, which is the flooring room. We use that room for removing the delivery material, and we're going to add protection material. We're adding protection material to protect the cars from us, basically. We want to make sure that when we deliver these cars that they are in perfect condition. There's no scratches, bumps, nicks, anything like that in the material. Once we get done with the protection, we're going to take it out, put it back on the traverser, and move it over to room number 2, which is actually water test. Our water test makes sure that there is no water getting inside of the car. So we're making sure that the window seals and the door seals and any of the equipment that has to come through the car body, that no moisture can get through those areas. Once we get done with water test, we're actually going to move it over to the production, which is on the other side over here. And as you can see, we're going to put them, the bogies actually have 2 levels. There's a high level and a low level. For the water test, we're actually going to put those dummy bogies in low level. For production, we're going to put them in high level. And the reason is because our platforms are so tall. So we can actually, on lane A12, which is the one right here in front of us, we can actually do work on the underfloor, the interior, and the roof all at one time. Now for the rest of the platforms, we can still do underfloor and interior at the same time. So during that process, we do have some things that we'll bring the cars onto this side for, one of which is the weight test, which is this orange device here at the end of the track. So basically, once we have the train completed with the actual trucks mounted to it, we're going to go ahead and do a very precise weight of what the car is going to weigh in service. These are our car jacks, and these are used on a couple of different type areas of the process. So what's going to happen is when we bring the cars in, we'll usually bring them in low bogie. We will put the protection around the bottom of the car, put them into water test, and then once we're done with that, we're actually going to lift it up and put it in high bogie so that we can put it into production. That's the first time we use it. The second time we use it is when we're actually going to truck the car. That means we're going to put the actual wheel assembly underneath. So what's going to happen is once we're going to bring it over here, we're going to lift it up, we're going to take the dummy bogies out, and we're going to put the actual trucks underneath and we're going to connect them. This section here that these guys are working on, this is actually our envelope test. So the envelope test is to make sure that when the car shells are pulling into a station or into a tunnel, we're going to make sure that the car shell, the components, the hoses, and the cables do not touch anything. We want to make sure that all that stuff is protected, and we're able to do that because we've gotten the dimensions from CTA on their smallest areas. This section here in the middle where the dummy bogies are sitting right now, this is going to be for our abnormalities. This area is if we find something in production that is not normal, we're going to actually pull that out of production. We're going to set it over here, and we're going to let the TQ department, which is the technology and quality department, they're going to come over and take a look at it, and they're going to let production know what we need to do to fix the issue. If it's going to take a little while, we're going to go ahead and fix that over here. We'll send a team from production to fix it here. If it's not going to take very long, we're going to put it back into production and we're going to move it along the line like it normally would. Down here at the end, this is the bogie assembly area, and so you'll hear me saying bogies and trucks. They're basically the same thing. The bogies or the trucks are the wheel assemblies. Now the full wheel assemblies have the motor, they have the braking system, the suspension system. So those are the life of the car. That's what makes it move, that's what makes it stop, and that's what gives you that soft ride, okay? We can do all the final assembly and testing right here in our facility. So one last area of production is this section here, and I know it doesn't look like much right now, but this is actually for our future work. So we do have a couple of projects that we're trying to get right now. One of which is the Chicago Metro project, and so once we get a project like that, then we can expand on our production and start moving that material in. As you can see, we are still in the midst of construction. We do have some things that we're still putting into the facility. We have not spared any expense when it comes to all the bells and whistles that this industry needs. So we do still have some material going in. As we saw earlier with the envelope test, that was just put in a couple of weeks ago, and we are still putting the finishing touches on our platform system. So this is one of the car shells. We actually just received this one yesterday afternoon. This is car number 6. So we have car number 1 and 2 on this side, car 6, and car 4 and 5 over here. If you want to step inside, as you can see, there's not a lot in here right now, but that's a good thing because that keeps us busy. We have a lot of equipment and a lot of material to add to these cars to make them what the customers will see when they actually ride them. We're very fortunate because the trainers and masters that we learned with when we were in China for a month, a lot of them had the ability to come with us, and so what's happening right now is during the prototype project is these gentlemen are going to help us learn how to build the car, basically. So the majority of my staff has no rail experience, and so these guys have many years to show how a car build is supposed to go. So behind you here is the warehouse. Right now it still looks fairly large, but this will become very small very quickly. As you can see, these components here, these are our HVAC systems. This is just one component that goes underfloor of our cars, and we still have many more things to receive. So all this area will be taken up very soon. I spent several months doing the recruiting for this project, and I brought in a lot of the local community for interviews and things like that, and I'm proud to say that I have several of them on my staff. I have probably the best team I've had in my entire career here in Chicago. I'm very proud to have the Chicagoans that have basically lived here their entire lives working for me.